All good, Commissioner Price?
That's the contract.
Go ahead on.
All right, good. Thank
Proceed.
you. All right, good. Welcome to the February 11th Continuous Improvement Steering Committee meeting. Can I please have a motion to open?
All legal notices have been posted, and I so move.
Second. We have a quorum. Yep.
And we have a quorum. All in favor?
Aye.
We're open. Very good. Thank you. The ayes have it. All right. The first item, Mr. Bazan, we have here is the discussion regarding the Justice of the Peace Courts and Security. If you would, please give us the parametrical framework, and then we'll begin the discussion, if we could, please.
Yes, sir. This item was requested to be placed on the agenda. This has obviously been a conversation that's had between the court and various departments over the last several months.
Is there audio?
And Trey, if you could pull up that slide. And I'd like to ask Fire Marshal De Los Santos to please come up, and we can lay this groundwork. And obviously we have a number of elected officials here today. And if it pleases the chair, I mean, I believe some of them would like to speak.
Oh, yes. And if we could pause a moment. Are we getting audio on the stream? We're good?
Yeah.
Everybody good?
Yeah, we're good.
We're good? Okay, good. All right, let's continue. Thank you.
Perfect. So in terms of just basics and bullet points to help guide the discussion, while that's being pulled up, and I'll just state them. From a background perspective, the Fire Marshal's Office has operated under various security assessment findings. Robert, if you want to talk about that.
Yes, good morning. Again, since we been designated to do assessments on government centers from administration and elected court administration, here is we did an assessment on all the government centers. One of the things we did is look at, we have public places, and then we have courtroom security, and how are we going to be able to enhance the security of these operations there. So we've been tasked to look at it. So when we did that, we were looking at it, public places are going to be open, tax office, Veterans Affairs and all that, and then we're segregating the areas for courtroom security. We've been asked to look at it. We've also looked at, bringing in screening operations. We've already started this in one of our government centers in Grand Prairie. We started the government screening operations up there on the second floor. After that, we looked at it. Everything's running pretty smooth at this point. We're going to be going to South Dallas Government Center to do that as well. And we also looked at some of the things, they also, OCA also came out and did a report on the government centers, and they were also asking for enhancement of security measures. And I think that's what we're doing at this point, getting that enhancement. So we're putting in screeners in there with metal detectors, so when they're going up into the JP areas, they're being screened for that.
Robert, can you give, just from a historical perspective, like even 5 years ago, the level of security versus the initiatives taking place right now?
One of the things about 5 years ago, we looked at it, there wasn't any type of security in all these government centers, not even in some of our other big buildings like Records Building, HHS, and other buildings like that. I was tasked to look at it from administration, how we're going to be able to enhance that security measures. And that's what we've been doing from here, from then on. So that's where we come up with this plan, so we can enhance that security measures, especially in the courts and in the JP areas.
Mr. Chairman, let me make sure, first of all, and I apologize, she just bought my book. Sure. Having been present in the January 13th meeting.
Thank you.
That's okay. It's all right. Having been present in January 13th meeting, I move the approval of those minute meetings.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Sorry, just getting the record.
And it's approved. Thank you for doing it. Appreciate your time. All right, good. All right. So, Chief, if you could please give us a timeline, if you would, when you think you'll have magnetometers and screeners in all of the JP courts.
We're trying to hopefully have it within at least by June of this year. The screeners and the X-ray machines. I mean, the metal detectors and all the JP's areas.
All right, very good. Now let me set the table for the next area of discussion, if we could, please. Do you provide any bailiffing services in any of the JP courts currently?
No.
Okay. I know that there's been a point of inquiry that has been made, at least to the chair, by a number of individuals about your ability to be able to do it and whether we could legally do it. I know that there is a question in the law associated with it as well. Would you be able to accomplish that task if you were asked to do so?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, the question in my mind is still legally, can we do it? And second, should we do it? I think I would want to hear both from the JPs and the constables along those lines in association with those issues, and I would invite that discussion.
Well, Mr. Chair, with all due respect, unless y'all got a different briefing than I got.
There you go.
Okay, it's really a non-issue.
Right, because you think legally can't be done.
We can't do it legally.
Okay.
I mean,
Legally, we cannot do what?
We cannot substitute the fire marshal in for the constable. There is other remedies that are available to us under the law. There could be a memorandum of understanding between governmental entities that might be able to accomplish that task legally. And then there's, do we need additional bailiffs in there, which I don't think we do. But I would like to hear from the JPs and the constables on this issue with your permission.
I agree with that, but also, and that's a little unusual of a request, but this is going to help me to understand. And I realize there may be a third way,
Yeah.
but if you're a JP, could you just quickly raise your hand?
Yep.
2, 3 JPs here. Okay, and again, we're going to hear you speak, but just to make it simple for me, how many JPs want constable, bailiffs, and security? Okay. How many JPs want marshal, bailiffs, and security?
I can appreciate. Well, yeah, but Judge. Yeah, but Judge.
Y'all want something? I know, but I was okay. It may be hard to get everybody something different, but
We all have different concerns.
All right,
Judge
well, let's hear
Whitfield,
from them.
I appreciate all.
That's okay. So it's a little too nuanced to raise your hand deal.
Yeah.
That's fine too. Can I ask one question before we get to all that? How many constables don't want to be bailiffs and do security? Any constables that don't want to do that? Okay. So I'm taking it that all the constables here want to do that. But go ahead. Let's hear from everybody.
Yeah,
That's
but
fine.
that's all is well and good. But again, this court has been briefed with regards to the statutory position of the constables. Period. I don't care what anybody else wants. Unless they want to just say, hey, I don't want to be in office anymore, or take that chance. But other than that, that's it. I don't know what we're talking about.
I want to hear from the JPs on this issue. They have raised the concern. I think that we need to hear them out. I think it's fair that we hear them out. There are solutions that can be offered potentially, but I want to hear what the concern is first. Just Moreno, just a short, somebody, anybody.
That's fine.
All right.
That's fine.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
They can.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Judge Whitfield from Precinct 2, Place 2 in Mesquite.
Good to see you.
Morning. Good to see you.
As I stated before, each JP has their own concerns for their own court. I've never had a problem with having a bailiff. I have a dedicated bailiff. So that's not my concern. My concern is overall security for the building, not just my courtroom and not just when I'm in the courtroom. So I would rather not go into detail in a public forum as to where we
Fair.
So, but there are other judges who've reached out and had some of the same concerns, and we do have judges who have trouble having a bailiff or finding a bailiff for court, meaning they don't have a dedicated bailiff. But those are some things that they can discuss with you individually. I just think overall, every judge, we just want to make sure that we are not sitting in a vulnerable position.
But Judge, my concern is, first of all, I want to separate it. We just got Marshal De Los Santos just stood up. This court has basically tasked them with security of all of courthouse facilities, I think, except for Frank Crowley. And yeah, so that's It's been taken care of. They're in the process of training and taking people through that. You know, with this whole thing of dedicated security, I just can't even imagine. And of course, I guess all the constables are here that they're not dedicated to what statutorily there's two duties. Tell people what their duties are, but there are two duties in statute for the constable:
I think another
serve
issue
process, bailiff the courts.
well,
And that's statutory.
well, I understand that. However, some courts are not having bailiffs there. So, I mean, that's a discussion you can have with the constables if you need to remind them of what their duties are. Like I said, I have a dedicated bailiff, so that's not my concern. But it could be discussed when they come up.
Your
But
dedicated bailiff's a constable,
Yes.
Sure.
and you're happy.
With that, but not about some other issues that should not be discussed in public. How would you
Right.
like us to hear you on those issues? Would you like to go through the fire marshal, or perhaps I think the best way to do that is to have Mr. Bazan visit with you privately about the security concerns, and then Mr. Bazan can report to us. Will that satisfy making sure you're heard?
Absolutely. So that was the biggest issue with the JPs, is that we were never included in the conversation
I
about
agree.
security.
And Mr. Chair, I would recommend that in that small committee that Mr. Bazan and Ms. Richardson will chair, that everybody's at the table.
Good.
The constables, the JPs, and obviously the fire marshal.
Good.
Because as you say at the beginning, and like Commissioner Price just mentioned, there's statutory requirements. But if we have elected officials that do not feel safe at some point of level, I think this is a discussion that we all have to have. They all have to have together and come to a conclusion, because we hear from the fire marshal, we hear from the JPs, we hear from the constables, but I really understand that there has not been a discussion when all of them are together at the same time in the same room. Right. So I think that will be a good way to move forward, rather than to have it in a public setting like this when there's safety issues and legal issues that should not be discussed.
Security should be closed session.
Yeah,
so if we want to put them all in the closed session, that's all well and good.
And that's for us, but for the elected officials, the JPs that are here, like the Judge Whitley just said, there's some considerations of concerns if she just speaks freely right now.
So then there will be a meeting of the constables, JPs, and the fire marshal before, and then report back to the commissioner's court in closed session.
Yes.
Yes, that will be Commissioner.
With Mr. Bazan, Ms. Richardson involved in that.
Perfect. We'll do.
Does that address your concerns if we do that?
Absolutely.
Good. Now let me hear. Do you have anything else? May I hear from Justice Swartz, please, because I just saw his face.
Yes.
Judge Moreno are here. Constable Orozco and Gulley are also here. Did I miss anyone? I saw.
And I'd also, yes, obviously, I'd like to hear from Justice Moreno.
Good morning. I'm Justice Adam Swartz. My concern on this really is I just want things to be consistent, right? The JPs and the citizens that are in court, I think, deserve consistent and adequate security regardless of who provides it. And I think the problem is we don't have any kind of metric to measure it, right? Nothing's in place for that. We don't have an org chart as far as like, who do we complain to? If there's a dispute on something, who settles that?
What kind of dispute?
Between you and the constable over the security issue?
Yeah, for example, one thing that had come up about a year ago was when we first got the magnetometers, the metal detectors, there was a discussion about whether or not the constables would be able to do a search. They were worried about it being a Fourth Amendment violation to search somebody.
And that's the reason. And that's the reason this court did basically turn it over to the marshals. We recognize that.
I understand. I'm saying that there was no like process in place for that. I'm plucking it as an example. So if something else comes down the pipeline, is it another like few months until we can figure that out, or
it's called the Marshal Service.
Isn't the whole thing that there's a dispute between the marshals and the constables?
That is one of the questions that is before us. But what you're asking for is process, as I understand it, Justice Swartz. Is that right?
Process and metrics.
Right. And you're saying we need process, not just an answer to that one question, but rather a process that could be handled not only for that question, but any question that comes before us. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's a good summation.
All right, good. And I think that Mr. Bazan should be in charge of that process myself. I don't know how my colleagues feel about that, but I think that he can.
That's the way we've handed it off to him.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Plus the marshal would be
Right.
included.
So just for clarification, in terms of process, you're talking about who has oversight of a particular area? Because clearly the constables have the courtroom, and then the buildings and exterior is oversight.
Yeah,
of
that was not the
marshals.
process we were talking about, though. It goes like this, and I'm using this just as a hypothetical, but just as Swartz has a problem with X, Y, Z, who does he turn that over to? In the past, he's called me, okay? And, it's been just fine. I got no complaints, no problems. But actually, it's probably more appropriate that it goes to you.
Understand.
And that you, in turn, take it to the constable if it needs to be taken to the constable, to the chief it needs to be taken to the chief, or to the court if it needs to be the court.
Understand completely. Thank you.
He should talk to his constable. I couldn't agree more. I agree. The whole process should be communication, obviously. And so I think that the way that would handle is if he's not getting satisfaction from the conversation he has with his constable, and his constable's terrific, by the way, so I don't think there's any problems there, then he can go to Mr. Bazan. I was just using it as a hypothetical. I wasn't saying there was a problem there. Are we all clear? Yeah. Okay, good. All right, good. Anything else, Justice Schwartz?
No, sir.
All right, good. Justice Moreno, would you like to add?
Hello, good morning. I don't have too much to add. I guess that was one of my questions is, I have worked with my constable. It just in terms of staffing, I think that's been an issue, which is why I can't have a consistent bailiff all the time. So we now have someone who's manning the court all the time, but it's changing. And so again, that would be a staffing concern. That should be more so not just with the constable, but you're saying now with Mr. Bazan's office, or is that something that we need to bring up?
Well, I think that what this committee is suggesting to the chair is that the constables and the JPs get together with the staff, no court members included. So you all can, get a process that will streamline metrics and a process that will solve some of the questions that, we've seen arise from the JPs, from the constables, and from the fire marshal. So we can have a process for it. And then bring some of the solutions to executive session. I would recommend Mr. Bazan and Ms. Richardson, in case that you're involved also, that Dr. Watkins is involved in these conversations as well, because I have heard everything under the sun, from no response to some response, and some people that are really unhappy with the whole process. So I would recommend that it's a committee that can solve an issue and bring it forward.
Yeah, I appreciate all of that. Look, you're a lawyer, and my concern is I don't want constables over there telling me how to build a damn road. I'm not going to tell them how. That's them and their constituents. They got two duties in statute. Two: bailiff the court and serve process, period. What this court has done is said there are common areas that apparently you, constituents, others have complained about. Insert the Marshal Service, funded them, etc. But there's got to be a collaboration between you and your constable as far as that court area. I mean, I hear, I hear this, but at the same time, they serve process and they bailiff the court. If it's two constables, then the elected official got to bailiff the court or decide if they're going to do process. But I think budget has appropriately based on standard. I know you're going through a staffing standards now, and they're doing that whole review. And at the end of the day, that's about equity. But in terms of their duties, that's it. That's all the statute says. It does not say they get K-9s. It does not say they run traffic reports. It doesn't say any of that. It says bailiff the court and serve process. period.
Correct, and I don't disagree. Again, the issue I think is just unfortunately understaffed right now at our precinct, which is
Who's
why
understaffed?
we have, I believe, 2 constables. The bailiff that I had before has been out on medical leave, and then I believe it's just some staffing that we've talked about and discussed. And so we have worked together to get someone there consistent. Well, to have someone there consistently, but to have one person there consistently where it's changing all the time, I think is also another concern because they don't know the process or the procedures.
Well, that makes everything she's saying makes sense.
Well, it makes sense, but this is the same. This is not too different and dissimilar than what we were hearing across the highway with regards to my bailiff. That's concierge. If the constables, if they decide that they're going to put you in one day and me the next day, then that's up to, they have to bailiff the court. Over there, we had the same issue in the sheriff's department. That's my bailiff. You got whoever the sheriff assigns. It's the same way with the constable. We don't get a chance. I just got through saying, I don't want them out there telling me how to grade no road, and I'm not going to tell them who they put in there. They don't know who shows up for work, who's out on family. That's on them.
Just Moreno, you're not concerned about who's the bailiff, just that you have one, true?
Correct.
No.
Some consistency
See,
too, though, because
that's
the
different.
jury trial, like for instance, I have a certain process with the jury trial or bench trials, so it's having to teach a new constable or deputy, this is the process of how I like it. So then there is that learning curve if there's always someone new.
Right. You don't care who it is so long as they know the process.
Yes, and maybe that is something just with my constable that we can work together on putting something on paper.
Yeah.
But I think that has been some part of the difficulty as well, is just not having that consistent. But that's more, I think, due to staffing issues, which is why I bring that up.
Right, and I think being heard is very important. And so hopefully this meeting that we're going to have with all the constables, all the JPs, Mr. Bazan, Mr. Richardson, Dr. Watkins, and maybe staff from the Commissioner's Court, but no commissioner there, I think would be the way to handle that. Are you okay with that?
Yes, that's fine.
All right, good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, good.
Thank you, Judge.
Constables, anybody? Yeah, good, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Tracey Gulley, a constable for Precinct 1. My JPs are not here simply because I can speak on their behalf. I have that trust, and they trust in me. I've been working with these JPs. Well, actually, I've been there for 28 years. We have never had a problem with bailiff in the court. Those are our duties. The statute says that no one can do it other than a sheriff or a constable. We know our duties, and it's pretty much like you're trying to police the police. We know our job. As far as the JPs saying that they don't have, the constables and I have had meetings, and let's just say this, respectfully so, this meeting should have come before now, and we wouldn't have this problem. Everyone would be on the same page as far as the statute is concerned. When we talk about what JPs want and what they're not getting from their constables, that's when they should have a meeting with their constables. It shouldn't be to where we're in this courtroom trying to decide, or they're having an issue with their constables because they're not fully staffed or because they're not there on time. That's something very simple that we should not take up your time dealing with something of that nature. Each constable goes through a bailiff training, so they know how to operate in a courtroom. This JP may want something for this constable to stand on this side or that side. That's very simple. But every constable has been trained. Everyone knows what it is to be a bailiff and how to conduct themselves as a bailiff when they're in the courtroom. Now, as far as Precinct 1, we have a bailiff that is designated for that courtroom every single day. And if that bailiff is out, trust me, everyone I carry commission on can go to their courtroom. And everyone does. It may be a day that that bailiff is out sick or something happens or vacation. Any and every one of my deputies are qualified to stand in that courtroom, and they do. So I can't speak for any other precinct. Precinct 1 does not have a problem and will never have a problem. Now, when we want to talk about safety concerns, as you say, that's another meeting behind closed doors, whatever we need to have, and that will be fine.
Same meeting.
Security, yeah, that's way overdue with that. But as far as bailiffing, we shouldn't even be here with this.
Well,
Constable, thank you.
yeah, and Constable, I appreciate that. You know, one of the things we've heard from JPs is that, you know, that there has been a failure to have someone there on time, number one, so they can get their dockets done and move forward. I'm not saying that's your issue. I'm just saying that has been the concern. I understand that. Only reason I keep reminding that is the responsibility of the constable. If they don't do nothing, and I don't know, the statute doesn't talk about which is for the bailiff and all the process. They just give them two duties, okay? And that means that if all of your constables, Constable Gulley doesn't show up, that means you got to go up there and bail it. Yeah, and I know you do. I'm making that clear. But they want to be, you know, somebody's got to post up when the court opens. Period.
Any other comments? Thank you.
Any comments?
Well, no, Constable Hammond.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The
And I
Second
saw
Commissioner-
also Constable Orozco over there.
Yeah.
Good morning. I am Constable Hammond, Precinct 2. I second everything that Constable Gulley has spoke on. She's kind of our spokesperson when we have the meetings. This was brand new to us, too. We were surprised at what was going on as well, and that is why we had a meeting. And we probably had a meeting about a week before the judges did. So we just remember as constables coming together about the fall of last year asking for particular items for our courts. And we were asking for, one of our positions to be, turned into a 66 instead of a 65. We asked for tasers. So we were asking for things collaboratively. And that's when we heard back from the courts of, well, possibly, let's see about the marshals, bailiff, and the, courts and all that. So what I did when we got a report is I sent that to both my judges. One being Judge Katina Whitfield that you guys just heard from, and the other being Margaret O'Brien. So I keep them up to speed. We never heard anything else about it till all of a sudden, oh yeah, this is a done deal, and that's when we had a meeting. So yes, that is our job. As Constable Gulley has spoken, as Commissioner Price has spoken, those are our two duties for the statute, and we do that. If my bailiffs are not in the court, my judges both can tell you I will bailiff the court, and I have often been in the courts, bailiffing the courts, and filling in for my bailiffs, and that's our duties.
Thank you,
Thank you
Constable.
very much.
Appreciate you. Constable Orozco, did you want to say anything? Thank you.
He wants K9s.
And Constable Curry, you want to say anything? Okay, good.
I'll make mine pretty quick. First of all, I wanted to go ahead and address something about the idea of the Memorandum of Understanding.
Yeah.
So back when this started all occurring back in November, we started hearing about it. I made a phone call to the Texas Justice Court Training Center, which is it's an avenue for us for the JPs and constables to also seek legal advice. So I told them about what was going on here and the situation, what they thought. They said, well, the solution could be maybe you could possibly do a memorandum of understanding. So nextly, I reached out to our civil ADA, Todd Sellers. Todd Sellers said we cannot enter in a memorandum of understanding because we could technically, in his opinion, could be removed from office for entering into some type of agreement by not performing our statutory duties. Nextly, in regards to the court billing assessments, back in the summer of 2022, I reached out to the state of Texas, the Office of Court Administration, and they provide a free service. They go out and they assess any and all county buildings for security assessments. So they actually came out and performed and went to all the satellite offices in October 2022. The report was made and given to us in 2023. So they identified all the issues and the areas in screening, where to place more cameras, how to fix certain deficiencies in the parking garage. And they went through over and over. So those items have been identified since March of 2023. So just like my colleague said, I for one am on favor of this as well.
They've been doing that with all of our bills. That's not new. That's what they do. OCA, they've done that. So we have responded to it. That's the reason we've given it to the Marshal's office.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
Thank you. Constable Curry, always good to see you.
Good morning, all. I'm Henry Curry, Dallas County Council Precinct 3. And all I want to state is, as Commissioner Price stated, as constables, we only have 2 statutory duties: serve civil process and bailiff the justice court of our said precinct. And after meeting with all my colleagues, no one is trying to not do that or not provide those services. What we need is extra staffing, because you have to take into consideration, my office in particular, not including myself, I have 14 sworn personnel with 2 administrative staff. That leaves me with 12 deputies, 2 of which are bailiffs. That gives me 10 deputies to cover 96 square miles. With 10 deputies covering 96 square miles, at any given time, I could have someone out on sick leave, on vacation, on training. We're required to do training. So anyone can be out for an extended period of time at any given time. So my office is typically operating between 6 to 8 deputies per day in the field covering 96 square miles. That's why we need extra staffing. We don't have any kind of relief factors built in to cover us, to assist us when bailiffs are out, when deputies are out on training, or just out on any type of extended leave. So we're not trying to negate any of our statutory duties. We're here to do that. We just need the staffing. As you all are willing to fund the marshals to do it, fund us. We'll do anything that you need us to do. We're here to do our duties and perform them at a high level. So just give us the staffing to do it.
Can I ask a quick question here? It sounds like that there are a variety of meetings among all of you to discuss different parts of your responsibilities, both to the courts and then to your other duties. Is that something then to put together a proposal if you need more staff?
Yes, currently we have UTA doing our staffing. They're doing the staffing assessment right now.
You guys approved if we had the staffing as part of the budget, and they're working with the
25, 26.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, if we had the staffing, we can accommodate and do anything that the JPs need, provide any extra security as needed, but we need the staffing to do it due to current staffing.
Well, it sounds like that's already in process.
We can't accommodate any extra duties at this time, and that's all it is.
But you know, the problem, Constable, and all due respect, like you said, if you just stay with those duties, that's the reason this court has authorized budget to do the study. Because everybody, if you let them tell it, you know, they need, you know, more than they have. The study, when they finish, it'll tell us. It'll tell us. And one of the things this court has always tried to do is do a staffing standard so that all the equity. You got 96 square miles. Dallas County is 955 square miles. Yes, so I do a division between you and 5 into 955 square miles. You know, each one of you, got 170, square miles. So, I mean, hey, what? See, so, I mean, we hear you. You know, I tell my colleagues, hell, I got 70% of the county. 16%, they ain't giving me no more. I mean, we've got an equation on the mileage, okay?
With all due respect, Commissioner, on that same note, my office is number 2, number-wise, production-wise. We get the second most process in, yet I'm number 4 in staffing. And that's something I've been speaking on and addressing since I've been in office. I'm up at number 2. I'm right behind Precinct 1 production-wise, but in staffing, I'm number 4 on the list. I'm number 2 production-wise, number 4 in staffing. So my hands are just kind of tied. And I'm not trying to negate or not do any of my statutory duties.
We'll make sure that you guys get the calendar because they've already started the process, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've already, UTA already visited all.
And they've all been very.
I just want to point out 3 little bullets that I want to just state in reference to that staffing concern that's going on right now. Is 3 things that are not taken into concern for the duties that we do. Number 1 is the time aspect. In 2001, Dallas County reduced down from 8 precincts to 5, so we all have a lot of ground to cover. So number 1 is number time. And I don't think people take into consideration how long it takes to get from A to B to make these different stops that we make to serve this process. Number 2 is a staffing issue. And what I mean by that is we don't have any built-in extra staffing to cover. We just have the staffing because Dallas County based everything on numbers. But we don't have any overflow staffing or relief staffing to cover when a deputy is in training or when a deputy is out on extended leave. And number 3 is they look at these numbers. So we're justified as having 250 processed per deputy, but no one takes in consideration the amount of attempts that are done in going out on these processes. We got 250 processed. We're doing a minimum of 3 to 4 attempts on each one of these processes. So nothing is taken into consideration for that. And those are just 3 points that are major concern in our staffing and what we need.
But you all are having to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm just saying it's not taken into consideration because there's a lot of time involved in all of that.
No, I get it. And that's what that's when she brought the study to the court. That's what we're hoping the study will reveal.
Yes, sir.
But we want to see equity in this staffing, and I appreciate the fact that you're, number 2 in terms of production process. You say number 4 in terms of staffing. No, we will see. I'm not going to say anything about what you inherited. So anyway, so you inherited what you inherited, and you go from there. Okay?
That's it. Thank you all so much for your time.
Good to see you, Constable. Thank you. Any other constables?
All of you.
Y'all, thank you for being here, really. Communication's everything, and I think it's very important.
Hang on, Eddie, did you want to say anything?
No. Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
Thank you, Constable.
All right, good. All right. Thank y'all. We're moving on to the next topic if we can, unless anybody has otherwise. Very good.
Thank you all for being here.